It's a brand new year, 2024. Welcome to Pens Down. We call this program Pens Down because the pen is the tool of the journalists. And on this show, the reporters and presenters, they drop their working tool, which is the pen, and then they talk to us. They become the newsmakers, not the reporters and presenters. So here we turn the tables. Maybe it's the only one agenda show that gives journalists the opportunity to speak up and be heard, without all the boundaries and the restrictions of news reporting and all that. Today, we are traveling to Liberia. Liberia is one of the English-speaking countries in West Africa, for those of you who don't know. And we are touching base with the president-elect of the Female Journalists Association of Liberia. Her full profile will be displayed on the screen while we go along with this conversation. My guest on Pens Down today is Miss Lisa Tenneh, Diasay. Welcome and thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me, Stephen.
I look at you and I see probably you could have been a good fit for, let's say, a bank manager or some medical doctor.
Oh, okay. I think maybe yes, maybe not.
Yeah. So how did you discover the journalist in you?
So the discovery of the profession I'm currently in took me to the discovery from my younger age.
Okay.
I was very late, I was smart, always wanting to read, always wanting to think about what's on people's clothes. When I was at school, I would always want to be reading in class. Okay. So that point, I did not know that there was a profession called journalism. I only knew that it was going to be like we normally had school events at the end of the year, the best reader, the best person who pronounced well, the person who was articulate in class, who was active. That was just the points during secondary school or maybe primary school. So it didn't occur to me that there would have been a bigger profession or platform that I would have found part of. Until when I got into senior high school, I started to hear a lot more about a profession that was taking into account what I was doing at the level of primary, secondary, and maybe in senior high. So I started reading news at school. We'll write the news stories online. We get to read, and everyone will be admiring us. So then I thought to myself that, hey, I think this is something that we can go bigger with and see how we can be able to get to the national scene. There was someone locally that I took interest in. By the time she has died, she used to read news on Kiss FM. That was during the Taylor regime in Liberia. So her voice used to be very magnanimous, and she would be reading the news, articulative, and everything was very great about her.
Wow. What assignment these years, about 14 years or more that you have been here, what assignment will you stick out as the most challenging so far?
So one of the most challenging task was basically to be able to report on the issue of an arrest from for the Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice in Liberia. Okay. That case has already been taken on to the final ruling, wherein they rendered the former Chief Justice and others guilty. So that was the death of her daughter. In her own home. So finding a way to be able to report that particular story with all the different factors surrounding it, it was just on this year 2023. But most importantly, there was a particular story that I got to report in 2015. It was surrounding a rape case involving someone who was almost like the only child from four parents who her siblings had already died. So during the Ebola time in 2014, she was one of the residents of Central Liberia. Central Liberia is called Banga Bon County. Bon County is the central point of Liberia. So it was it's an hinterland, and she was one of the members of her family. But then her three siblings had died because of the Ebola 2014. So then her mother told her to come to Monrovia with one of her auntie to live, just because of maybe better space to live, because at that time maybe the health situation in that part of Liberia was getting difficult. So they had to bring her to Monrovia to live. So she came to Monrovia to stay with her auntie. Her auntie used to live somewhere around Hotel Africa. That was one of the biggest hotels in Liberia at the time when it was normal time in Liberia. So at that particular locale, her auntie sells the normal food from the oil pot. So they will fry the color, they call it pawpaw in some part of Africa. So they will fry it and she sell it. So that evening she went to sell. She was going home. It was around 11 to 12. Her auntie had gone home and they told her to take the balance material they had used that evening to take it home. But between the selling place and their home was a whole different bush area in different places between you have to cross before getting to their place. While on her way home, she got into the gang hand and she was gang raped. And she bled until she reached at their door. She started knocking the door. By the evening hours, normally families would put movie on and the whole family would get to watch it. So they were watching the movie and no one heard her voice at the door. Crying. It was one neighbor who heard. They were crying. The person came knocking on the door. You're here and the girl is bleeding. She dying. Something happening. When they opened the door, she was almost lifeless, but she was able to explain as to the fact that people jumped on her and she showed her private part everywhere was blood. That particular story took me off my feet when I got the information, because at the time of my journalism career, I started getting interest in reporting human rights and women rights stories, because I found myself in a space that, yes, I need to talk about the issues that affect women and girls in our country and other marginalized population. So when I was informed to cover that particular story and these different genesis of the information started to come to me, that was something difficult for me because I'm a mother. I have a 16-year-old child, and that girl was only 15 years old. So reporting that particular story, I had to move from point to point, holding my emotions and stuff like that to make sure that I could be able to tell the story of that girl. Today, that girl didn't make it. She had to die after a day at the Redemption Hospital.
Let's talk about social media. If you've done 14 years, it means at the time you started, social media was not so powerful in the scheme of journalism. Today it is. How has social media redefined journalism? Or how has it changed the course?
So basically, social media has been able to help, especially so the new media in Liberia has been able to really tell the story and tell the issues of other different things happening in our society, in our country. Leveraging the new media, for me, particularly establishing Women TV Liberia, has already been of great help to be able to tell the stories of women and other marginalized population. I believe that with the new media, I think citizen journalism is at another peak in our own country, because a lot of people use the new media to just tell the story, even whether it is going to cause some chaos they may not be able to understand, but from which or whence they will be able to cause those different chaos. But it has been able to help. It has not also not been able to help in a way to discourage disinformation and misinformation, because if, for instance, the person just get to see a citizen journalist thing, or citizen journalists get to report something on the internet just because from their community and say, okay, there's some issue here of violence between two families and blah blah blah. That issue may be true, but maybe the way they're explaining it may not be the actual reason why it happened. It could trigger some other information, or maybe disinformation among the public, and people just take on feelings just because they call a specific family name. People take offense to it, and before verifying that information, because they may not be fact checker in the way, right? They could just be mere people in the community, but they are using the internet to talk about issues. So for me, it's been able to tell a lot of story, but from the other angle of citizen journalism, it has not been able to work better, because there's no mechanism to ensure whether that issue is right or the information coming is true or not. But it has just been able to help spread information wide and fast.
attrition in journalism. A lot of professionals are leaving the crafts, so many of them. Today, you see he's gone into public relations, he's gone into corporate communications. Some of them are moving into just anything that is ready to welcome them. Attrition in journalism, what do you think is accounting for it? I'm sure for the 14 years you've been around, some of your colleagues have left, even some juniors have left. What is accounting for this state of affairs? Why are people leaving the crafts?
I'm basically sure it's basically about advancing themselves within, it's almost within the same profession, right? Because if you're a public relations, you're still a communicator, you're still propounding a message or maybe selling an image of an institution. You're still within the craft. It's just on the basis of career advancements and enriching themselves in different portfolio of the profession. They are still a part of the profession. Normally in Liberia, when a person transcends to the level of a public relations person or corporate communication manager, the president of Liberia, when they call for an event, the person is still a journalist. They still remain a journalist. But it's just the different field has changed from one, the mainstream, the person has left the mainstream media to that of corporate communication, but they are still providing information. They are still giving information to the public. They are still relating to their colleagues as well. It's just that they have advanced to another part of the profession in another way.
You are on your way to 20 years in this profession. Does journalism pay? Does it pay?
Journalism does pay. For me, I believe journalism does pay because it's about your interests. What do you want to see? What change do you want to make? For me, my interest in journalism is to ensure that the rights of women and girls and other marginalized population around the world, they are protected. That is my interest. So when I'm writing a story, I tell a story that this right has been violated and what different policy measures can be taken into consideration to not have it occurring before we are change makers. In the different professional space we find ourselves, especially as a pen pusher or maybe someone who owns the pen, we must be able to tell the story that will make change. So if I'm in a space that basically I was able to write that story that I told you about, that the perpetrators were being held accountable for their actions. That brings a lot of joy to me that I was able to make impact, even though the child for which rights I was fighting for is no longer, but her spirit will obviously jubilate in the point that at least she was able to get justice, even though she's not alive. So the interest for which we do what we do should be cardinal. And additionally, journalism does pay because if you are innovative, you are able to move after the interest of the public. You get to get paid by the change you make. You get to get paid because people recognize your work. You get to get paid when you do a lot more different things with the networks you get to have. So I think journalism pay to a lot more standard professional level and in the best practice point.
At this point, let me extend my congratulations to you from Ghana on your election as the president of the Female Journalists Association of Liberia.
Thank you very much.
I have done a little background study, and almost every Liberian journalist I have spoken to tells me that yes, she deserves it. And
Wow.
it has just come in at the right time. So once again, congratulations, and we look forward to a very time-changing term of office under your watch.
Yes,
Right.
thank you so much. Appreciate.
Right. Now, journalism. People are saying on this platform, there's a debate going on. Licensing journalists. Should we license journalists? Would you buy into that argument, or you have a different opinion?
I believe that, yes, journalists should be licensed because it's going to take away a lot of counterfeiting. It's going to bring some level of integrity to the profession. It's going to do a lot more with the issue of us balancing whatever we should be doing and holding our own selves accountable when we do things that are not in the public's trust. Because regulation, because I believe the licensing will do much more with regulation, not to maybe the content you'll be writing, but will be instilling into us the much more needed foundation on how we can be able to carry ourselves as journalists. Because take for instance the medical field, take for instance the law field, or maybe the lawyers. We have a national bar in Liberia. When you graduate from the law school, you need to take a test. You must be able to show yourself a proof before you are admitted to the bar, before you are even given a title of an attorney at law, before you have to even practice for more than 5 to 7 or 8 years to become a kick against the fact that you will not just enter to the profession and you are just giving the much more space that you have. You must be able to go through the ranking fast. That may not be possibly possible to our end, but the regulation of giving us the means for us to be able to do the right thing will help us. So when journalists are licensed, when there are issues tomorrow about black mail, you can be able to track easily. When there are issues of people counterfeiting people's carrots, or people just jumping in the space and professing that you are Lisa. Maybe somebody just know the name Lisa, but they don't know the face behind Lisa. So if you are licensed, someone can call the Press Union of Liberia and the Female Journalists Association of Liberia. So I have this report, this person in my office who is telling me that their name is Lisa Tenneh Diasay. Do you know this person? Is this person a journalist? Are they licensed? What is their number on their license? Can I find this out? Because obviously the internet is big now. So there are websites around that people can put up their information. Those are some of the things we obviously want to do at the level of FIJA, not to license journalists, but to accord them the due respect and courtesy. So people can counterfeit their information and counterfeit them because of the name and fame they have accorded to them. So I think it's going to help us more with what we do as a professional group of people and give us the level of relevance like the lawyers have, like the doctors have as well.
Right. Now let's look at political ownership of the media. We have politicians that own media houses. Some of them politically exposed persons establishing media. Some of the media houses very, very powerful. Is that a good thing? Is it a good practice, or we are sitting on a time bomb?
For me, I believe that political maneuvering will always be in all other spectrum, because the political economy of a country always speak to whoever has power. What are the power dynamics within the country? But media censorship should not be the basis for which the media will thrive. Because if we open up the space to say, okay, all the politicians own radio stations, all the politicians own media institutions, who will tell the right story? Journalists will be bear rating, not in the actuality, but they'll be bear rating with the kind of content they will want to write. Then you will restrict the pen, because if your boss, who is maybe a minister of X, Y, and Z ministry, gets to embezzle some money, how do you carry the story? How do you tell the Liberian people the story? So it gives you a lot of tie up hands on how you need to do it. I think that particular part of it, the censorship of the media, we need to find a way around it to ensure that the media is free of their opinion, is free of whatever work they need to do. The bias that surround the media with the political ownership of different media. When you check the different radio stations we have here, you will find out that a lot of politicians own media institutions here. Then in another way, it ties the journalists' hands that are working with them. Sometimes people just bow their heads in shame when there are issues arising around the person who they are working for. They don't want to talk about it. Then they are tied up. At the end of the day, the person has to resign. They have to move to another institution. But inadvertently, that institution they are moving into, there's someone who is a politician who has a share in it. So we need to find a way that will build media sustainability, so institutions will not only rely on politicians. Institutions will rely on their own sustainability to not have an edge of a politician over them. So media sustainability for me is key on how the media can thrive by itself to be able to ensure grants are available for those different media institutions to be able to have. Because one of the only reasons why politicians will have ego over the media institution is the fact that the media institution do not have money to survive. So if the media institution is able to find a business model, a sustainability model that can be able to sustain you between this arm and this other arm, before this other time frame finishes, you are able to find another model that will reach you another way. So in that way, people will not have, or politicians in specific reference will not have control over the media.
Was there at any point that you were approached with anything money or material to compromise the details of any story you were doing and then take it? I'm talking about bribery in the line of duty. Have you ever been approached with anything like that?
Definitely, when people feel like you are a staunch person who believes in the rights of people, they will always want to call you to a SAR meeting. They will also want to call you to a lunch meeting and make you feel like, okay, I think we need to, they want to talk you out of your decision to talk about the interests of the public. It's always like that. I myself has faced it before, and I've not been able to lay down a compromise with that. No, because my own interest, like I indicated before, the interest, what I believe in is what I go for, and not just basically the interest of another person who wants me to compromise. So if it is a means of compromise when it tramples on the rights of someone, just forget about it. I'm not going to give into that. So obviously, journalists all around the world are engaged. They are being talked to out of their decisions to write specific stories that borders on people's own interest. Personal aggrandizement. It does not work with me.
Talking about money, let's look at this. There is a practice in journalism. You go for assignment, you are given some envelope that has money, or you interview some prominent person, he gives you some envelope. In Ghana, we call that SOLI, S-O-L-I. That is the short form for solidarity. In Nigeria, they call it the brown envelope. Cameroon calls it the brown envelope. Malawi calls it logistics. Liberia, you call it CATO or professional services. Am I right? CATO. Now, I want to pick your opinion, your thoughts on that practice in the line of duty. What do you think of it? What do you make of it?
For me, I think that when media managers or media owners beef up the issue of giving their reporters or maybe workers the right pay, people will not look after that. There are so many much more professional journalists in Liberia who don't take brown envelopes, who don't take at all. They go to an event, they have an interest in that event, after which they get their news story, they are away. They don't wait for people to call them and say, okay, write your name on a piece of paper. Maybe after the event, we are giving journalists X, Y, and Z. No, they go for whatever they want because those group of people have been able to reach out and get grants, get the needed support that they need for their work. So they don't listen out to nothing else. And another group of people are the people who believe they have an interest because they are following up on certain issues. They want to just get some more information to just beef up their work they are doing. So they go to event, they get their information and they are away. But I think the way we can curtail that, if it is not the best practice, which of course not very, very much the best practice, is to find a way that media managers live up to their speed in providing the needed workspace, in providing the requisite pay, benefits for their reporters. Because you find out reporters will just move from point to point. The only thing they're looking for is the cartoon. Maybe they're only looking forward to the brown envelopes. And at the end of the day, they might forget as to the interest of the public. What is the public interested in? If you're only looking for the brown envelopes. So what if that person, maybe the person here went down on their own policy at their workplace, maybe it's a supermarket, the manager of that supermarket is abusive. He's maybe a foreign national, maybe a Liberian national or so. This person just abused people. But because that man, you went to him to have a conversation with him, he gave you a brown envelope. You forgot the rights of those people who have been abused, who have been trampled upon. You take on the interest of that manager who has already given you the brown envelope. Is that what we are going to look for? But journalism talks about the public interest. So the public interest is the rights of those people that have been violated. So we need to be able to tell the story of those people and make sure that the manager accounts for whatever damage or abuse he has been able to put on those people. Because sometimes it will be psychological. Sometimes those abuse will even affect their own salary. He may not be able to pay them because they were able to call media on him. But if the media they call on him does not ride with him in bed, inadvertently, he would be able to take it up on those people, but the law will make him pay. But if you just sign with him, it means that those people, they will be doomed forever because he may not pay them anymore. And at the end of the day, we lose confidence. We make the people lose confidence in us because we who should be telling their story, making sure that people who violate them are paying for it. Then they don't come to us anymore. Sometimes they take the law in their own hands. So I think the only way we will be able to curtail those different brand envelopes so people focus on the real issue is that media managers can be able to make sure that the remuneration of their staff and whatever benefits they're supposed to have come in full and come to the degree at which they're supposed to have, then people will be more professional in their way.
Is the love affair between you and journalism a lifetime one, or you are going to file for divorce one day? Are you doing journalism for life?
At a certain point, sometimes people will want to say goodbye, but I think I will always remain a journalist. I will always be a journalist because this is a profession that I hold dearly to my heart. I'm already an activist. I'm already an advocate. I'm a feminist. That does not divorce me from being a journalist. So I'm still a journalist while in those different capacity and roles. So I'm not going to leave journalism anytime soon because I feel like this is a profession that helps you to get whatever you want to get and get whatever you want to get in front and making sure that the public is a part of whatever you're doing. So if it is the interest of the public, we'll remain journalists.
You've done more than 10 years. What are your golden memories?
My golden memories are a lot, and I think mentoring young people to come up to speed to wherever they want to be in the profession, because they've seen a lot of young people too gravitated between the space. I think makes me feel glad that we've been able to work with a lot of young people to come up and make sure they can make headways in Liberia. We've been working with other young people quite recently. What really got me elated is the fact that we've been working with this young lady from one of the counties side of Liberia, from Bon County. She was just a cop reporter in that particular county in one of the radio stations. She migrated to Monrovia and we kept working with her. And finally, she won an award for being one of the best reporters in Liberia here, especially so the young media young journalist award. She was able to win that particular award. So I know there are a lot more awards coming up, and most of the women we've been working with, a lot of young journalists, men as well, will win a lot of different awards too. So those are some moments that got us elated. But the fact that people can reference us as to why they are still in journalism is another golden memory for me, because if someone sees the work I'm doing and because of that they are still remaining in the profession and they are not getting divorced of the profession, that is a golden moment for me, because I feel like I need to do more so other people still see as well and be able to do much more better for themselves in the profession. So those are golden moments for me, in the fact that I'm able to champion the rights of women and girls and other marginalized population with the work I do, telling their stories and also making sure that we can form part of different gatherings, advocacy gatherings too, that propels national government to take decisions. I think those are golden moments for me.
When the Daily Observer newspaper reached out to you to congratulate you on your successful election, one statement you made to them during that interview was that you said, "This victory is a triumph, not just for me, but for every female journalist in the country."
Exactly.
You received overwhelming support during your campaign, and the mandate was an absolute one. I mean, the numbers turned in your favor as expected. What was the motivation to go in for this position? And what is it that you intend to do differently during your time in office?
So I think the motivation was the people, the young women journalists, the women journalists across Liberia, because this was something they actually wanted. This was a journey. We started 2019. And before 2019, we still started working along with them, making sure that we can do our same old mentorship. We can improve on it, making sure that we are safe, doing our digital safety and security training, doing our internet connectivity training, making sure we can have our gender mainstreaming training, those different smaller things that we're doing at the smaller scale level and at the local level. yield a lot of fruits, because many women journalists were not of the belief that their personal information was safe to them. For the fact that we're able to make sure that we give them the level of information to them, we're able to make sure that they were able to move from one point to not even knowing how to write story, to writing a story, or to your story getting up on a news outlet. It took a lot. So for the fact that we didn't get it 2019, did not stop them from working with us, did not stop us from working with them as well. So when the time came, they reached out back to us and said, Lisa, you need to get this because that's what we want. So I was like, okay, if you really want us to do it, then you need to be able to make sure that you get it going yourself. They organized a lot of different gatherings to make sure they brought people together. And it was just their organization and not me. So when we started to reach out, every other thing they said to us, that was what we put in our manifesto or our platform. So it reflects their dreams, it reflects their aspiration, it reflects to what they want to be done in the public space or so. So when we had it coming, it was no stranger to them. It was not strange to them. They were telling our manifesto before we even reached it to the public. So this was a victory of the women journalists in Liberia, because they wanted us to have it, because they believe in our capacity, they believe in our relationship with them, they believe in our networking skills we have, they believe in our advocacy role being able to play over the period. So differently, what we would do based on their own call to us is to make sure that FIJA is more visible to them, is to make sure that FIJA works for them in a way that they don't have to struggle. So we are going to be leaving from the paper world to that of the digital world to make sure that women journalists are not maybe filling out papers anymore. They can fill out their forms to maybe regularize their status, maybe become a member of the association, wherever they are, just using their phone or maybe on the internet. We can always find a way to make sure that they have a code to dignify them, because we want to dignify women journalists. We don't just want to get there and say, okay, just women journalists. Yeah, women journalists. No. But the form of making them to be dignified is something that I hold so dearly, and that's something they also indicated to us. How can we be dignified? How can people get to know us? So in the coming years, when you get to visit FIJA website, you will understand how many women journalists we have in this country, in Liberia. What are their different work they're doing at the level of the community? Some of them are activists in their own right. They are also doing the journalism. They're always all doing too. They are helping at the community level to make sure peace reign. They're also helping at the community level to make sure that every other thing at the level of the community to not you into conflict, but you into a peaceful result. So different levels, we have different experts. So we are going to be highlighting the experts too. We are going to be profiling them, talking about their work. So when you are all the way in Ghana, or even someone watching this video, wherever from part of the world, they will get to know that you can come to Liberia and work with a woman journalist whose interest is human rights. You can find a woman journalist in Liberia whose interest is on environment, maybe on health. So you will understand the different role they are playing. And at the end of the day, we'll be recognizing their efforts through awards program. We'll also be doing our resource centers in the counties, because Monrovia is not Liberia. So the association cannot just be centrally located, and all other work is only centrally located in Monrovia. No, we want to make sure our county coordinators have space to work, and they can be able to get supported. So we want to ensure that the office space in the counties have equipment that our office people can use too. And journalists there, when they want to do their work, because it's all community radios in the counties. So if they want to do their work and there's no space at their station, they can leverage the resource centers we also have in the different counties. So they can go there, take the recorder, sign for it, go to use it, come back and bring it because someone else too will want to use it. They can use the computer. We'll have the Adobe there. We'll have a little mini studio so they can be able to start to practice, so they can perfect their profession at the level of the community radio. So because in the next 3 years, we want to build a whole range of experts in FIJA. So those are the things we're going to be doing differently.
Has your life ever been threatened in the line of duty before?
Definitely, yes.
You want to talk about it?
Yes, I think I want to talk a little about it. So it was the story that I told you about from the uncle of the associate, or the former Chief Justice, whose daughter was murdered in her home. And that case has already gone against the former Chief Justice, Councilor Gloria Musu Scott. So during that time, our institution, Women TV Liberia, was the first institution to have reported that story. We got a tip off from one of the activists in Liberia, and we rushed, obviously, on the scene. We did a video. We wrote a story. It was a breaking news story. We're trying to verify, finding us information from sources and the police and so forth. So I don't know where those people came from, but they came attacking me. They sent me text messages. They call me. They call my phone on strange numbers and they attacked me. They threatened my life and they say, if you keep following that particular story, you'll find your body in the street the next morning. By that time in Liberia, the secret killing was obviously on the increase. So the fact that someone was threatening your life like that, additionally, they even tried to shut down our website because Women TV don't only have a Facebook page or other social media platform. We have a whole website. So they use an advanced code to bring down the entire website. That was the query they were trying to run on the website using that particular advanced code. It was some high cost that they paid to be able to get that. But with God above and our international partners who are always supporting us to do our work, they were able to intercept that, and the website is still standing. So those different you are being going against a lot of different norms that people don't expect you to go against. You should understand that society, some people will come after you, and those people are coming after you only because of their own interests. So we didn't know as to why those people are coming after us. What stories were reporting? We're reporting some other story too from Bone County that were having some issue regarding a lawmaker and the citizens of that area too on different issues. So we didn't know where those attacks were coming from, but it was just in the range of reporting those two stories that those attacks came. Our Facebook page almost got hacked, but we already have two-factor authentication on it. But they kept trying. Every time they try, a message will come to my phone. Every time they try, the message will come to my phone.
I don't know if you can hear me. Your end is frozen a bit.
Our website down as well. So we went through a lot of psychological effect. We had to move out of our homes for almost 2-3 months because it was not a restful thing to be in your home and still doing the same work you're doing. So we had to make sure our staff were safe. Our office, we had to close it for some time, but we're still working remotely because it's an online institution.
If we are to roll back the hands of time 20 years, are you still going to choose journalism?
I was still going to choose it because I feel like I would have been somewhere just telling people about something that happened without even them asking me.
Wow. If today a mentee or maybe your own child walks up to you and say, I am thinking of becoming a journalist in future, will that person have your blessing? And what will you tell the person to do differently from the way you started?
So what I want to tell you, if you're coming up to me today to say you want to be a journalist, yes, that's a good thing. You have the power, you have the right to do it. It's your right to become whoever you want to be in society. But what you need to be cautious on is to make sure that you have your eyes on the goal. The goal is to become the best journalist. Becoming the best journalist should not take into consideration what your emotions think. It's what the interest of the public is. So you must be cognizant of the interests of the public and not your own emotions. Because if you are on your emotions, sometimes your emotions could mislead you. Your emotions may not always be right. So if the interests of the public compromise with your emotions, you must be able to go with the interests of the public. But you also must be transparent in whatever you're doing. Because if you try to lean on the side of some other different things, you might become compromised. At the end of the day, you lose your integrity. You don't want to lose your integrity because the goal is to become one of the best. Because people must be able to rely on you. When there are issues up in the community or wherever, you must be a source of information. You must be a source that people can be able to call upon to make whatever change they want to make. You must be that voice through which they can be able to make it. So you must be transparent in a way. You must be credible. You must make sure that you are on time or whatever you believe in. And your interest must be the public interest.
Between the time you started and today, what would you say is your assessment of the quality of journalism in Liberia today?
I think the quality of journalism is at a normal growth space or a pace. I think we need to do more with the issue we talked about the last few minutes ago on how we can be able to ensure professionalism in the space. Because I think that a lot of people are just coming up on board because they have interest in the profession and they are not being trained well. I think we need to do more training so people understand their role and not just to hold phone in your hand and say, "Oh, I'm a reporter," or to just hold your recorder in your hand. What comes out of your recorder is a powerful message. What you tell the story of is a powerful tool as well. So we need to be able to do more training, and we need to make sure that our sisters and brothers are not just saying they are, but they are very much are because they have been able to go through the level of trainings that are required of them to be able to be the best version of themselves. Because if we are promoting professionalism, we must find a way that the people who are professionals themselves. So we don't get people mocking the profession, because if people get to mock the profession, it means that we who are in the professions too are also mocked. So if we don't want to be mocked, we must be able to build the capacity of the people who are just coming and also work with the people who are already in the profession, so we don't find a means that the profession will be molding.
Social media has created richer bloggers than richer journalists. You and I have the kind of training that should make social media an added tool for public information dissemination and education. What are we not doing right? And how come people who don't have our kind of training are making more money from it than we are doing?
I think we have not been able to invest more time in using the social media well. Because I think if we do it the way we should, because we are communicators, those people are just maybe content creators. We create more content, or we create more important content. When I say important content, the news, people want to know what's happening in your little community. So aside from the person who was just be cracking joke, which of course is important to the space, but I think we've not been able to put more focus on the new media, on leveraging the new media to make sure we can have a means of making money, or maybe making sure our work can go out there. I think journalists across the world must be able to leverage the new media, because there are a lot of things that the new media can help us to advance, not only to make money, but to make your work quality. So it brings a lot of quality to your work. It makes you known. It makes you have more credibility, because people rely on you for information, especially so when you are doing it more and in a more professional manner, people want to stick with you. Unlike you just maybe on a space to just create content back and forth. So I think we need to get involved with using the new media to make sure our work expand to the next third of generation, or maybe across the world, even where our voices cannot reach, our work can reach there.
Let me pull the brakes here. I thank you for this conversation. This conversation is presidential because we are speaking with we've spoken with the president of the Female Journalist Association in Liberia. She is the person in charge and the one who is ensuring that the women front are rallied to ensure the realization of their specific goals as far as their professional work is concerned. She is also the CEO of Women TV in Liberia. You say you are a feminist. Now, there is some controversy around feminism, and I want to possibly put you on the spot in this regard. I want to pick your thoughts on feminism. There are, I don't want to say misconceptions, but now that you are here, maybe we can clear a few things. Is feminism an anti-masculine campaign or an amplifier for the right of women and girls? Help us to get clarity to this.
So I think feminism is not an anti-masculine campaign. No, it is in no way ostracizing one gender against the other. It's fronting for the rights of everyone, and everyone must be able to see that feminism is about them. It's about their rights. It's about creating an equal space, a balance, so that everyone in society cannot feel ostracized, cannot feel left out, cannot feel left alone. So feminism is not anti-masculine, but it's about fronting for the rights of women and girls and even men as well. to make sure that we are on par with each other.
Let me pull the brakes here. Thank you for this. I'm truly grateful and I've enjoyed this conversation. And we wish you well in your term of office. We are hoping and praying that when the term ends and you have to render account, there will be just too many things to talk about as far as achievements are concerned. And then the impact will also be evident in the lives of female journalists across Liberia. Once again, thank you very much. This has been Pens Down. Today, I've had the company of the president of the Female Journalists Association in Liberia, Lisa Tenneh Diasay.
Yeah.
She was my guest. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back again. And another colleague will join us here, still talking about journalism journeys. That is the only thing we do on Pens Down. Thanks for now, and have a happy new year. Bye.